Hello, and welcome to Let's Make a Top-Down Shooter. This video is about letting the enemy fight back. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to reset the AI perception ranges for sight and hearing back to 1000. Now when the NPC hears us, sees us, whatever, it just comes right over and follows. So what we want to change first of all is in our behavior tree. The way it's working is when it sees the target character and it's set, it will first move to that target character. So on this node, there is an acceptable radius. If I set this to, let's say, 500. When I'm within 500, it'll stop. Move on to the next node, which is face the target. It's handy and all, but this is a static value, and it's just part of this tree. So if you want that to be custom, we can create a new task for that based on the blueprint base. Going to go with this very short name, move within range of target. And as usual, we need to override the receive execute AI. First going to create two keys, a target key. This will be of type Blackboard key selector. We'll add another one. This one will be range key. So I'm going to control drag that out. I want to call get Blackboard value as object. I'm going to cast that to actor. When that is successful, we're going to call move to location or actor. So this basically means you can set a goal location or a goal actor, and this is the customizable radius. So for that, we need to get the range key, also call get Blackboard value as float. Throw that in there. I want stop on overlap, yes, and accept partial path, it's yes. We'll set the goal actor initially, and then we need to call it finish execute, which is on move finished. Now we could throw a finish execute in there on request failed and leave that as not successful. But I'm going to leave it as is for now. Oh, and I forgot to drag over our controller. Goes into here. Right, so with that set up, we're sending along a radius value, but we don't actually have it yet. So the first thing we need to do is in here, we'll create a new float. We'll call this attack range. Now, also, both of these variables need to be instance editable. Back in the behavior tree, we're going to call move within range of target. Since those were made instance editable, they're now up here. The target key is going to be target character. The range is going to be attack range. We can remove that one. Drag that down a little bit. So we have the Blackboard value set for the attack range. It's being used in here. We need to now actually pass it along. So inside of our enemy character, we'll go up to begin play. The end of all these things, we're going to call get Blackboard. On that, we're going to call set value as float. Drag out key name, you can just type make for make literal. This needs to match the name of the key. There's attack range. And we can create a variable for attack range. Make that a float. So this range, let's say 500. Actually, let's say 500. Similar to the static value, it'll move within 500. If you take one step out of range, it will move a little closer. So I'm actually going to subtract 50 and throw that in here instead. So any logic that's using the attack range will be at 500, but the value we're actually following within is 450. So actually I should have put a test value in the previous thing at a different value. So let's switch this to 200 so that we can see the difference. Make some noise, comes within 150 in that case. All right, we'll throw that back up at 500. And there we go. Now that's not very useful by itself, so in our behavior tree, we're going to create another new task. We'll just call this attack. This one, we're going to take the controlled pawn, we're going to cast it to our BP enemy character. In the BP enemy character, we're going to create a function called attack. This function, although we're not going to use it right now, will have a target actor. With that, we can call it from here. First, we're going to get our target key. Just a blackboard key selector again. Control drag that out. Call get blackboard value as object. And then misclick it. We're going to cast that to actor. And send that along as the target actor. And lastly, always call finish execute. If either of these casts fail, which they should not, we'll just call finish execute with a failure. And this will be after the enemy character has faced the player. We can then call the attack task. All the attack task will be doing is using the ability system component to call try activate ability by class. Now you could set a variable for enemies specifically to have an attack gameplay ability. Instead, I'm just going to take the default abilities, just get the first entry, and that will be the attack. It also means we need to make sure that we have a default ability. And we'll use our old pea shooter fire. So that also means in our pea shooter fire, this was specifically for the player originally, so that's the third person character. I can switch this to BP enemy character. So we need to instead cast to BP enemy character. Rehook up a bunch of nodes. And we're going to make this specifically BPP. Make sure all these are saved. Now the projectile, BPP, is based on projectile base. So in here, under the sphere and collision, we have set it up as an attack PC. So to change that, we need to add under engine collision, we're going to add a new object channel. We're going to call this attack enemy. So just click on that again and set this now to attack enemy, which should ignore itself. That means we need to go to the enemy character capsule component in the collision here. Actually, before I do that, I'll show you a nice crash. In the player character, our third person character, under collision, we want to make sure, actually this doesn't even matter because it's kind of checked on the other side. So actually I'll leave that as block. All right, so that's a save. The current level, I'm going to save all. So what's going to happen is, assuming I didn't miss something, the behavior tree is going to call the attack task. The attack task is going to call the attack function on the enemy character. That attack function is going to call the GA pea shooter fire. So that's going to create a BPP, which is currently set as a attack enemy. In the enemy character, we have, this is just default, so it's set up to block for that. So the P should actually hit the enemy character. There's no cooldown currently set, so it'll just hit it until it dies, which will generate a race condition, more or less. All right, so the reason that effectively is calling a breakpoint, the order of events that are happening effectively is that the projectile is being created, it's hitting the enemy character immediately, it's doing the damage, and because of the timing of everything, effectively, it's basically accessing something that it shouldn't be. However, this is, in this case, it's just a breakpoint. It's leaving Unreal in a bad situation. So we can hit continue and go back in here. You can see in the log, as long as it doesn't crash immediately, which it probably will, it got down to, it did 5 damage at a time, got down to that. The printing for that character was basically, if the health is greater than 0, then it prints out this log, otherwise it will destroy actor. So as a result of the destroy actor and the timing, it basically causes that. So I'm just going to close this, stop that, go back in. And I'm doing all this basically just to show you that if you do have this kind of problem happen, this is one potential solution. So back in our enemies BP character, we can, instead of calling destroy self, right when our health changes to below 0, well, below or equal 0, which will actually be equals, we're going to add another variable here. I'm just going to call this isDead. We're going to use isDead in the event tick, and hold B, click. So in the case where you are dead, we destroy actor. And all we're doing is then setting this to isDead is true. So now same thing happens. Once it sees you, it attacks. It goes all the way to 0, destroys the actor, but there's no crash or breakpoint. Now the reason why it's hitting the character is because we left this collision, which we will now set to custom so that we can get access down here. We can modify this value. We want to ignore attack enemy. There. Now, it's still shooting ridiculously fast, but it's ignoring itself for collision, so it's able to hit the player. So I can do a few things here. First of all, I'm going to remake this P green. Once I spell green properly. And then I'm going to make it bigger. I'm also going to take the default speed of, well, not default, but the speed that was set of 1500 and just set that at 500. So now at least it's something that's, dodgeable. Still shooting way too fast. And as you can see, when you take the damage, I mean, we have no player death right now. That'll be its own video or set of videos. All right, to add a cooldown to the attack, there's a few ways. So because we're doing this in a behavior tree, we could just put a wait, which is not a great option, but it is one way of doing it. If we put a wait down in between these two things, that could kind of work as a cooldown. Might be better to have drag this off into another selector or sequence and then have the wait in there. But then you would need to set up a condition as well. So we're not going to do it that way. We're going to do it the gameplay ability system way, which is in here. We're going to create a new gameplay effect. We'll call this GE cooldown enemy attack. So the purpose of this gameplay effect is just to have a duration, which we'll just set as 1, and for it to be added to the attack. Cooldown gameplay effect class. This will be our GE cooldown. Now, you would think it would work that way because this is a gameplay effect. It has a duration. So clearly when the pea shooter fire is called, commit ability, as it says, will check resources and, well, it'll basically do both the cost and the cooldown. So it does that. It will apply the GE to the player. No, sorry. It'll apply the GE to the ability system component that's attached. So in this case, the enemy. And then you would think it'd work it as a cooldown. This is a step a lot of people get messed up on. Also, that thing is because its face angle. I'm going to right in here we have rotate to face our enemy, and this is set to 10 degrees. Right, so the reason the cooldown doesn't work is because it requires the use of a tag. So in here we can add this target tags gameplay effect component. And we're just going to, in the added section, create a new tag. Just call this attack.cooldown. Make sure we have a source selected, add the tag, select the tag, and there we go. Also going to go in here, I'm going to change this 10 to 4. And now we'll fire once per second. And even if you slightly dodge, it it follows, because that 4 degrees is making sure that it's still shooting the player. So one last thing I forgot to touch on. In here, I had set the goal actor as the player. So something that can happen. This thing is following you. It can just keep following you. So it's changing direction there because I was closer in the one way. If you don't want that to happen, then we can instead use get actor location. Throw that in here instead. So now in that case, because it's getting the actor location at that point, it's then going to move that to that location, and then it's not going to care that the player moved after that point. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video and would like to see more, you know what to do. And if you would like to support this channel or just want to download the project files, you can do so through my Patreon linked below.